I need to stop you right there before we even get into this story because what happened that night genuinely changed the way I think about people. And I don't say that lightly, so it was a Friday after our work holiday party. The kind of event where the company springs for an open bar, everyone loosens up a little too much, and by 9 o'clock, you've got your manager doing the worm on the dance floor. Classic, we've all been there. Now I want you to picture the scene. 40 or so coworkers, packed into this rented-out rooftop venue, music going, drinks flowing, people laughing. And somewhere in the middle of all that chaos, I noticed Sarah. Not her real name, but we'll go with that. Sarah is someone I've worked alongside for about 2 years. We're friendly. We grab coffee sometimes, we chat in the hallway. But we were never what you'd call close friends. More like comfortable acquaintances. By around 10:30, it became very clear that Sarah had crossed the line from having a good time into genuinely needing help. She wasn't being loud or making a scene or anything like that. She was just quiet. Too quiet. And she was sitting by herself at the end of the bar, staring at her phone with this look on her face like she was trying to remember what numbers even are. I walked over because honestly, what else do you do? You don't just leave someone like that. I asked her if she was doing okay. She looked up at me with this half smile and said she was fine. She was clearly not fine. She told me she'd already ordered a rideshare, but when I checked with her, the app showed she'd accidentally canceled it twice without realizing. So I made a decision. I told her I'd take her home myself because my apartment was actually in the same general direction, and it wasn't going to be a problem. She argued with me for maybe 30 seconds, which in hindsight was kind of funny because she could barely keep her phone straight in her hand while she was doing it. But eventually she agreed. We said goodbye to a few people. I grabbed her jacket because she'd forgotten it on the stool, and we headed down to the parking garage. Here's where I want to pause for a second, because I know what some of you might be thinking. Why would you do that? Why would you go out of your way for someone you weren't even that close to? And the honest answer is that I just didn't think twice about it. It wasn't some grand heroic decision. It was just the obvious human thing to do in that moment. And I think that matters to what comes next. The drive started out pretty quiet. Sarah had the window cracked slightly and was leaning her head back, just kind of existing. I put on some low music, nothing intense, just something calm to fill the silence. I asked her once or twice if she needed anything, or if we needed to stop, and she said no both times. We were probably about 10 minutes from her apartment when she started talking. She wasn't being dramatic. Her voice was soft and kind of detached, like she was narrating something that happened to someone else a long time ago. She told me that this was actually the first holiday party she'd been to since her mom passed away 2 years prior. Her mom had apparently always called her on the way home from parties like this. Just a quick call, nothing major. How was it? Were people fun? Did you eat anything good? That kind of thing. She said tonight was the first time she reached for her phone to make that call and then remembered mid-reach that there was nobody to call anymore. I didn't say anything because there was nothing to say. I just kept driving. And then she looked over at me and said, and I'm going to tell you exactly what she said because these were the words that stuck with me. She said, "You know what's strange? The kindest things people do for you are almost always the things they don't think about at all." She wasn't talking about me specifically, or maybe she was a little, but it was bigger than that. She was talking about her mom, about all those little calls that happened without ceremony or announcement, the ordinary consistent kindness that builds a life. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I had to focus very hard on the road after that because I was not expecting to feel that in my chest the way that I did. We pulled up to her building a few minutes later. She thanked me, genuinely, in that clear way people sometimes get when the emotional weight of a moment cuts right through everything else. She said goodnight and she went inside. I sat in the parking lot for a few minutes before driving home. Now, why am I telling you this story on this channel? Because I think that sentence she said deserves more than just sitting in my memory. The kindest things people do for you are almost always the things they don't think about at all. They'll think about that for a second. Think about who that brings to mind for you. I guarantee someone just came to your head immediately. A parent, a friend, a teacher, a neighbor, a stranger on a bad day. Someone who did something small without making a big deal out of it, and that small thing became one of the things you carry, We live in this culture that is absolutely obsessed with grand gestures. The proposals on the Jumbotron, the viral surprise videos, the big speeches. And those things are beautiful, I'm not dismissing them. But Sarah's words that night made me realize how much we undervalue the unremarkable, consistent kindness that actually holds people together. The text to check in. The cup of coffee left on someone's desk. Remembering the name of someone's kid. Offering someone a ride home without making it a whole thing. These are the things that last. These are the things people think about in quiet moments when they reach for a phone and feel the absence on the other end. I've been more intentional since that night. Not in a performative way, not in a way where I'm waiting for someone to notice or thank me. Just in a way where I'm more awake to the moments where the obvious human thing to do is right in front of me. The moments where I could either look away or just take the small step. And here's what I've noticed. When you start paying attention, those moments are everywhere. They're constant. Every single day has about 10 of them. A moment where someone needs something small and you are literally right there to provide it. And most of the time we do it without thinking. Most of the time we don't log it or remember it or tell anyone about it. And that is exactly the point. The kindness that changes people's lives is usually the kindness that felt automatic to the person giving it. Sarah's mom probably didn't think of those phone calls as significant acts of love. She was just calling her daughter. She was just doing what felt natural. And yet those calls became the shape of safety for Sarah. They became the thing she instinctively reached for when she needed to feel grounded. What automatic things are you doing for the people around you right now that you don't even realize matter? And what automatic things are people doing for you that you might be taking for granted? I'm not saying this to make anyone feel guilty. I'm saying it because there is something genuinely beautiful about the idea that love often doesn't announce itself. It just shows up, again and again in the small ways, without needing recognition. That's actually the most powerful version of it, I think. The love that doesn't need an audience. The kindness that happens in parking garages and quick phone calls and an extra jacket grabbed off a stool. Sarah messaged me the following Monday. She didn't bring up the conversation directly. She just said thanks again and that she was glad we'd ended up working at the same place. I told her me too, and I meant it. Because that drive gave me something I didn't know I needed to hear. So, if this story brought someone to mind for you, someone who shows up for you in the small quiet ways, maybe today is a good day to tell them. Not in a grand gesture kind of way. Just a simple, honest, I see you and it matters. That's the whole thing, really. That's all any of us are trying to do. Be the person someone reaches for. Be the call someone makes on the way home. Drop in the comments who came to mind when you heard that. I'm genuinely curious. And I'll see you in the next one.